Welcome to the Shreveport Connection. This is Tommy. This video is on your Monday Night Raw results, and here we go. Okay, Raw opened up with a mashup of Raw opening videos from over the years, being the 20th anniversary. Live from the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, as Michael Cole welcomes everybody to the show. We go right to the ring, and Vince McMahon is waiting. Vince talked about Raw's success over the years and thanked the fans. He announced John Cena versus Dolph Ziggler in a steel cage for later on Raw. He also plugs the rock concert, boring as crap. So you can, all he did was pick on Vicky Guerrero. Vince is interrupted by Big Show, and out he comes. The internet feed that I was watching was so choppy, didn't even see half of Raw. Show says everyone needs to wait because I gotta pause something here. There was a travesty on Raw that happened to him. Travesty that happened to him on SmackDown and needs to be addressed since he lost the title. Vince says he doesn't like being told what to do and he doesn't like to be interrupted. Vince picks on Show for losing the World Heavyweight title. Vince airs the footage from SmackDown where Alberto Del Rio won the title. Show says he wasn't prepared for the last man standing match and blames Booker T. Show wonders if Booker was trying to make Del Rio a hero to the Latinos. The crowd boos Show. Show says Booker is jealous of him. Vince asks Show what he wants done about it. Show wants Del Rio stripped of the title. The music hits and out comes Ricardo Rodriguez and Alberto Del Rio to a big pop. And Del Rio says Show comes off very small. Del Rio says instead of complaining to Mr. McMahon, do something about it. Del Rio proposes a rematch for tonight. Show says no, and the crowd chants, see? Show then says he wasn't prepared on Friday, or isn't prepared tonight. Del Rio tells Show to show some balls for once in his life. JBL and Jerry Lawler are on commentary with Michael Coleslaw tonight, by the way. Show says he is not going to waste his rematch tonight. Show wants a rematch at the Royal Rumble. Show says people won't be talking about the Royal Rumble winner, CM Punk or The Rock. They're going to be talking about him. Show tells Del Rio to enjoy his 15 minutes of fame. Del Rio calls Show a fat jackass. Show asks Vince if he's okay with how Del Rio is acting. Ricardo and Del Rio have a present for Show now. RR picks up a bucket and Show warns him. Ricardo tosses a bunch of confetti on Show, and they laugh at him. Show goes after Ricardo, but Del Rio stops him. They brawl, and Del Rio hits a hurricanrana. Del Rio with a kick to the head and sends Show out of the ring. McMahon introduces Del Rio to the crowd as he celebrates. The announcers hype Rock's concert and tonight's steel cage match. Back to commercial. Back from the break, and we see highlights from when Bob Barker hosted Raw. That's when my internet feed came back in, or came in for the first time. Wade Barrett versus Randy Orton was up. We go straight to the ring, and we get Intercontinental Champion Wade Barrett is in the ring. Randy Orton is out next to a big pop. This was a surprise match for myself. And they lock up, and Orton takes it to the corner, back to the corner, and Barrett works Orton over in the corner. Barrett ducks a clothesline, and Orton hits a Thesz press. Barrett goes to the floor, but Orton follows. Barrett gets his face slammed in the announcer table. Orton backdrops Barrett on the fan barrier and brings him back in for a 2 count. Orton stomps away on him. Barrett gets dumped back to the floor as they go to commercial. Back from the break, and Barrett's in control. Barrett with a headlock, but Orton fights out. Barrett cut him off and took Orton to the apron with a knees to the head. Barrett with a big kick for a 2 count. Barrett came back with a headlock. Orton broke free with a back chop. And Orton comes back with a clothesline and a big power slam. Barrett ducked out of the ring, but Orton nails him with a backbreaker. Orton with a second rope draping DDT as the crowd pops. More back and forth action. Barrett with a bull hammer elbow for the clean win. So, and that was our title match. Wade Barrett retained. Still to come tonight. First Hall of Fame announcement. Back to commercial. What a surprise for everybody. The Divas champion Eve Torres ran into Teddy Long and Booker T backstage, and everybody had news that Eve was leaving WWE after Raw tonight. So everybody knew that Caitlyn was going to win the title. It's just a matter of how they were going to do the storyline. Well, Booker says Vicky Guerrero agrees that Eve will be stripped of her title if she tries to run away or get counted out as usual tonight. Eve tried to play up to Booker, but he laughed in her face. Teddy laughed at her too, and Eve smacked Teddy in the face and walked off. Coleslaw shows footage from earlier today when Kane and Daniel Bryan met with Dr. Shelby for their evaluation. Bryan tells Kane that they should lie to Dr. Shelby and tell him that what he wants to hear. Kane agrees, and in comes the doctor as they're shaking hands and what have you. They have a group hug before sitting down. They answer some questions about each other as Dr. Shelby was congratulated. It's the first interaction they've seen together. Shelby brings in Damien Sandow and Cody Rhodes as a surprise to him. He wants them to cause a trigger for Team Hell No's anger and to see how they handle it. Shelby wants Rhodes and Sandow to antagonize them. And when they get angry, wash it away and find their happiness. Find their happiness? What is this? Happy Gilmore? Before that can happen, Sandow and Rhodes end up correcting Shelby and running him down. Then they call Shelby a failure and says Dr. Phil will be better. Shelby tells Bryan and Kane, as he has his anger management, attack! Attack! Like they're rabid dogs. And they do, and they get rid of Rhodes' collars out of the ring. And next they are coming to the ring. We go to the ring, and out comes the WWE Tag Team Champions, Kane and Daniel Bryan. They will face Damien Sandow. Kane will face Damien Sandow after the commercial. Back from the break, and Sandow comes out with Cody. Kane takes control early on and unloads on Sandow in the corner. Kane with a side slam for a 2 count. Kane with more offense on the floor. Kane brought it back in, but Sandow kicked him. Sandow turns around and then works Kane over, and now Sandow goes on and hits the elbow of disdain. Sandow comes off the top, but Kane catches him with a choke slam for the win. The elbow of disdain is almost like the Rock's elbow. Back from the break, and we see what happened with Big Show and Alberto Del Rio from earlier. Justin Roberts introduces Mick Foley as the first inductee to the 2013 Hall of Fame class. And everybody, including myself, was thinking King Kong Bundy was going to be the first one introduced. Well, the crowd chatted for Foley, and he comes out to the ring as a surprise, and the internet feed goes out. Foley thanks the crowd for their ovation, but the Shield's music hits. Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns come through the crowd and surround Foley in the ring. Ryback's music hits, and out he comes to make the save. They beat Ryback down, but he turns it around. They beat him down again, but now Randy Orton comes in for the save. Orton gets beat down also, and out next comes Sheamus. Sheamus fights them all off, and Orton and Ryback join in and clear the ring as Ambrose takes shell shot. The Shield backs up the ramp as Orton, Ryback, and Sheamus stand tall in the ring. Ryback gets a big Phoebe Moore chant going. Josh Matthews enters the ring as the internet feed is coming back in and goes back out again. As he's interviewing Ryback, he talks about how the Shield has allowed CM Punk to escape him every time they face Ryback. And at this point, the internet feed come back in for the show. Ryback says he can't rest until he gives back the Shield, what they have taken from him. Ryback starts a Feed Me Shield chant. In that segment, we get a video of some of the more bizarre gimmicks over the years. Man Mountain Rock, Bash and Booger, Gilbert, the Sultan, Damien Demento, the Goon, Max Moon, the Woogie Man, Naked Midian, Shuddering Goldust, and others. That's gold dust for you. The Divas title match is up next after commercial. And we get Kaitlyn versus Eve, and Kaitlyn eventually wins the match. Lily announces the match as Kaitlyn waits in the ring. And the Divas champion, Eve Torres, comes out next. If she gets counted out, she will lose the title in the match, and Eve will be handed the title. The bell rings, and they locked up. Eve with a headlock, but Kaitlyn turned it around. Eve goes to the floor, and Kaitlyn won't let her back in. Eve comes in and goes to the corner. Kaitlyn is told to go back to back off by the referee. Eve kicks Kaitlyn back and kicks her in the face for a 2 count. Eve mounts Kaitlyn and unloads. Eve with a takedown and a 2 count. Eve turns it around and chokes her in the corner. Eve with a submission now. Kaitlyn counters with a roll up for a 2. Kaitlyn with clotheslines now and a big shoulder. Kaitlyn with an inverted DDT and a close 2 count. Eve came back with a neck breaker for a 2. Eve showed frustration. Kaitlyn picked Eve up on her shoulders and dropped her over the knee. Eve rolled out to the floor, but Kaitlyn went after her. Eve tossed Kaitlyn into the fan barrier and walked back in the ring. Kaitlyn gets in first and spears Eve for the win and the title. Congratulations, Kaitlyn. Josh Matthews is backstage with Brodus Clay. We see CM Punk's pipe bomb from last week when he name dropped Clay. Clay wants Punk to keep his name out of his mouth. Clay says that the pipe bomb is about to blow up in Punk's face and walks off. Back to commercial, and we get the match up next. Brodus Clay versus CM Punk. Not much of a match on this one. CM Punk wins. Back from the break, and out comes, and this is how it happens. Brodus with Cameron and Naomi, and out comes the WWE Champion, CM Punk, with Paul Heyman, the Walrus. Bell rings, and they go at it. Clay knocks Punk down, and Punk goes to the floor to regroup with Heyman. Clay brings Punk back in and keeps up the assault. Clay beats Punk down in the corner and scoop slams him. Clay drops an elbow and then another. And Punk turns it around and springboards in with a clothesline. Punk with a neck breaker. Punk mocks Clay's dancing. Punk with another neck breaker. Clay with a submission move on the neck now. Punk with kicks, but Clay catches him and hits a suplex. Clay runs over Punk and hits a headbutt. Clay misses a splash in the corner and Punk takes the knees out. Punk with a kick in the face. Punk goes to the top and hits the big elbow drop. Punk applies the Anaconda device and he taps out. Winner CM Punk. After the match, Punk mocked Clay some more and took the mic. He says he just came to do what he does every Monday night. Punk says The Rock is going to come out later and do what he does. Punk talks about The Rock and says The Rock will not leave Royal Rumble with the title because he is the best in the world, and that's a fact. Then they plug tonight's Rock concert and Cena versus Ziggler in a cage. Back to commercial. Back from the break, and we get a look back at some of the crazy Raw moments involving automobiles over the years. Of course, they show the explosion with Vince McMahon and probably the cement or whatever it was that was poured into one of the cars. Well, Mick Foley is backstage on the phone with his children. The Rock walks up and Foley hangs up. Foley goes to shake Rock's hand, but Rock didn't come here to shake Foley's hand. Then they hug and Rock congratulates Foley on the Hall of Fame induction. They do some rock and sock comedy when Vicky Guerrero walks up. She can't hear herself and tells them to shut up. Vicky reminds them that this is her show. Vicky runs her mouth and some more, and Rock says he has nothing to say to her. Foley is surprised. Rock says that there's a time and a place for everything. He tells Foley to enjoy the Rock concert. And next up, we got the over-the-top rope challenge with Sheamus. Sheamus comes out for the over-the-top challenge before we go back to commercial. This is a 3MB challenge. They beat Sheamus down to start, but he fights them off. They try to toss Sheamus over, but he fights back. Sheamus tosses Drew over, but he hangs on, and Slater makes the save. They beat Sheamus down again. Sheamus eliminates Jinder first, and then McIntyre. Sheamus tries to bro kick Slater, but Slater gets hung up on the apron. And 3MB rush all over to help Slater get Sheamus eliminated. And they all celebrate in the ring. After the match, Sheamus came back and interrupted their celebration. And Slater and McIntyre catch Bro kicks in their segment. Josh Matthews is backstage with John Cena, and he asks about tonight's steel cage match and Big E Langston. Cena says we should be talking about Raw and runs off a bunch of names in typical Cena fashion. Speaking of Cena, I actually did get some response from him on Facebook tonight, thanks to a fellow TEW member of, can't think of his name, Thomas. Well, anyways, thanks, Thomas. That's all I'll give. Okay, Cena says we should be talking about Raw and then runs off a bunch of names in a typical Cena fashion. Miz comes to the stage to hype Miz TV. He says his special guest is Hall of Famer and gives us a hint. Woo! Miz struts he asked several times, do y'all want a hint? Miz struts to the ring as we go to commercial in Flair style. Miz comes out and introduces his guest. Woo! Ric Flair struts to the ring and takes a seat. Miz asks about his most memorable Raw moment. Flair says right after he retired, where he had the farewell for him with Shawn Michaels. Flair wants to talk about the future, not the past. Flair says he's honored to be here. Flair says he's looking forward to when Ryback takes out the Shield. They have a really segment. Off and Flair dances. Miz tells him to do it again. Miz calls out a magical moment. He plays a video of some of the best stars on the mic from over the years, including the New Age Outlaws, Y2J, Chris Jericho, Mick Foley, DX, R-Truth, CM Punk, Val Penis, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and many others. Miz says one catchphrase was missing from all that video, and then talks Flair into doing a promo, but he's interrupted by U.S. champion Antonio Cesaro. Whatever how you do it, who cares? It doesn't matter how you do it, because he ain't important. Well, Cesaro came out with a U.S. flag. He says he doesn't need catchphrases. Cesaro rips into the Miz and Flair as the crowd chants USA. Cesaro tells Flair that he has nothing to show for being great in the past, except maybe a bar tab he can't pay. Speaking of, when he's talking about his TNA experiences overseas, Cesaro says the only thing the four fingers stand for these days is Flair's 4 ex-wives. Miz gets upset and tosses a chair. Miz says he will pay Flair's bar tab tonight, but we'll give Cesaro the receipt right now. Cesaro says he's going to be the bigger man and walk away. Flair stops him and delivers some chops. Flair then whips Cesaro into Miz for a skull-crushing finale. Flair goes for a figure 4, but stops. Flair lets Miz apply the figure 4 instead. Miz tightens the hold. Flair drops the elbow on his jacket. Miz kicks Cesaro out of the ring, and Flair drops a knee and another elbow on their coats. Flair and Miz pose as Flair's music plays. Still to come tonight, Cena versus Ziggler, steel cage, back to commercial. And next we have Daniel Bryan versus Cody Rhodes. Quick match, back from the break. Cody is already in the ring with Damien Sandow, so no introduction from him. And then we get Kane and Daniel Bryan. We're out next. Introductions. Cody and Bryan go at it. Cody with an early pin attempt. Cody kept control and dropped a knee on Bryan. Cody wastes time, and Bryan pulled him into the S-Lock for the win. Michael Coleslaw shows us a WWE application video of Eve Torres complaining to Matt Striker about how she's a victim. Eve said she doesn't need WWE and quits. She blames it on people like Striker and the fans before walking off as she leaves WWE and announces play up to Eve leaving. Still to come tonight, rock concert. Back to commercial. AJ Lee is backstage in the next segment with Big E Langston. She looks back at some of the weddings on Raw over the years. Langston shows a clip of her and Daniel Bryan's wedding. AJ gets emotional, and Dolph Ziggler comes in, cuts a promo on his match with Cena tonight. And we go straight to the ring. Out comes JR to join commentary. Back to commercial. Steel cage matches next. Dolph Ziggler versus John Cena. Ziggler is out with AJ and Langston for this steel cage. Both of them get to stay outside the ring and interfere during this match. John Cena was out next to a big pop. Ziggler tried to escape early, but Cena stopped him. It's JR, Lawler, and JBL on commentary for this match. Cena took control and he runs into a big drop kick. 2 count by Ziggler. Ziggler beats on Cena now. Cena goes to face first into the cage with Ziggler with a big splash in the corner and a neck breaker. Ziggler with another neck breaker as AJ looked on. Ziggler went for another neck breaker but shows off and Cena counters. Cena goes for an attitude adjustment but Ziggler blocked it and he gets a 2 count. Ziggler keeps control and works over Cena. Cena catches him and catapults him into the steel cage. And Ziggler climbs up, but Cena finally stops him. Cena pulls Ziggler down and starts climbing himself. Ziggler stops him, and they trade shots on the top rope. Ziggler locks Cena to the mat, but Ziggler falls with the top rope between his legs. Crotch chop as we go to commercial. Back from the break, and they trade shots on the top of the cage. They come back to the top rope, and Ziggler drop kicks Cena to the mat. During the commercial, Langston stopped Cena from escaping by holding his leg. Ziggler kept control. Now, as AJ looked on, Cena blocked a shot in the cage and fought back. Cena come back with her usual move. Cena with a 5-knuckle shuffle. Cena goes for the attitude adjustment and it's blocked. Ziggler uses it to climb up the cage. Cena exposes Ziggler's rear and throws him into the cage. Ziggler blocks another attitude adjustment and hits a superplex for a close 2. Ziggler crawls to the cage door, but Cena pulls him back. Langston tries to pull Ziggler out with the door. And Cena and Langston play tug-of-war with Ziggler's body. Cena pulls Ziggler back in and applies the STF. Ziggler counters and locks him in a sleeper hold. Cena powered back to his feet with Ziggler on his back. Cena climbed up the cage, still with Ziggler on his back. Cena fell back to the mat and landed on Ziggler. I think that was intentional, just to break the sleeper hold. Ziggler climbed while Cena was on the floor. Ziggler stopped Cena from escaping. Cena kicks Ziggler back. Cena goes for the door, but Langston slams it on his head. Ziggler with a close 2 count. Cena runs up to escape the cage. Cena kicks the door in Ziggler's face. Langston starts swinging a chair at Cena's legs, and he crawls back over the top of the cage. Ziggler hits a zigzag for a close 2 count. Ziggler climbed the cage, but Cena stopped him. Cena pulled Ziggler to the mat. Ziggler ran up and nailed a huge DDT from the top rope. Cena still kicks out at 2. AJ throws a fit at ringside, which sets up the finish, and she goes crazy. AJ climbs the outside of the cage and makes it to the top. And the announcers say this is the first time they've ever seen a woman climb the steel cage. Well, they haven't seen Mickie James in TNA climb the cage. Langston came in, but Cena fought him off. Ziggler charged with the briefcase, but Cena ducked and hits Langston with the case, knocking him out. Cena nailed the attitude adjustment for the win on Ziggler, as AJ is watching from the top of the cage. After the match, Cena heads up the ramp and AJ screams from the top of the cage, and we go to replays. Up next was Rock Concert. As they go back to commercial, back from the break, and out comes the Rock to a big pop. The ring is set up with the guitar. Everybody knows that he's the only one that's going to be in that for the moment. With a chair and a mic stand. Rock says it's an honor to close out this special night. Rock talks about his first time on Raw, and we see a pic of his Rocky Maivia gimmick. Rock picks on how he looked and says that the picture proves if you put your mind to it, you can overcome anything. Rock takes a seat and the crowd chants his name. Rock's first song is sung to the tune of the Heartbreak Hotel, as expected. It's about Paul Heyman, he says. Rock calls him a diva with floppy breasts. Rock says Heyman's fat covers his little penis that he hasn't seen in many years. Rock points out to his special guest of the crowd, Dusty Hill from ZZ Top. And he's like right at the edge of the front row. Almost going into the second row. Rock asks how the ladies are doing. And he asks him several times. He asks his favorite curve on a woman. As he says his favorite curve on a woman is her smile. But he actually paused for a moment. He starts his second song and he says there's a special woman he wanted to sing this song to, and it's none other than Vicky Piggy Guerrero. Out she comes, and he sings a song to her. Vicky hesitates but comes out on stage anyways. Rock sings the song to the tune of Eric Clapton's "Wonderful Tonight." He disses how she looks, how she abuses power. He sings she looks like a hooker and not on the expensive kind. Rock calls her a biatch and says she looks horrible tonight. Pun the song, the name of the song. Vicky throws a fit on stage. Rock gets the fans to sing it with him to Vicky, and everyone cheers. Rock tells the fans that this is one horrible looking biatch and asks the fans if they are having fun. And then the Rock wants to talk about kicking ass now. He calls out WWE Champion CM Punk to the ring. Rock wants to tell Punk something, man to man. Rock sets his props to the side and waits on Punk. Out comes Punk to the stage with Heyman right behind him. Rock has some facts of his own in response to Punk's earlier promo. Rock says it's a fact that Heyman has Twinkie tits. Rock informs Punk that he isn't God. Rock declares that he will beat Punk for the title. Punk rushes the ring and Rock meets him on the outside. They start brawling on the floor. WWE referees try to separate them. They break free and they go at it some more. Rock drops Punk with a right hand. Booker T, Finlay, Arn Anderson, and other officials are trying to break it up now. The crowd chants for Rock. Raw goes off the air with Punk and Rock staring at each other as officials keep them separated. And that ends my Raw video for this week. Thanks and peace out.